It is February 2nd, 2025. Welcome to the Geekdom 101 Super Magic Show. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We're going to be closing out the weekend here with a really, really fun little show. I think we're going to have a great show today. We got a great show planned for you guys today. I'm about to bring my guest on here in just a minute. We're going to be discussing the recent events in Dragon Ball Daima, what's coming up in Dragon Ball Daima, and we're going to go really, really deep into the weeds with this week's show. And of course, we're taking your questions via Super Chat and some of the chat questions. So if you have a question or a comment, feel free to drop it in the chat, and we will read it and talk about it. So the main topic is going to be about Super Gomah and the secret of the third eye. So we're going to talk about the events, really the final few minutes of Dragon Ball Daima episode 16 and what's coming up without going into any major leaks or any spoilers. But you guys have kind of already figured out by now that the big battle has come. I mean, you have to be kind of an idiot to not understand that we're in the final stretch now. All the characters have met, like Rinsu's group with Ku and Du have now confronted Goku and that group. And it's time. It's time right now. It is time right now. I see some comments in the chat about Gomah looking like a Pride Trooper. I know. I pointed that out when I first saw what he looked like 4 months ago. If you watch my breakdown from last night, which like I say, you need to watch the video breakdowns that I do every Saturday before the streams for you to get a complete understanding of the episode. Then you will know things that I reference there. But yeah, we're going to talk all about that. And really, we're going to go into a lot of the lore behind this. So we're going to talk about, all of that. So right now, let me go ahead and bring on my guest. Please welcome back Jordan, the Dragon Lee. What's up, man?
What's up, guys?
We are going to be talking a little bit on the show about the third eye, Gomah, and all of that. So hopefully, it'll be a good time today. I think we're going to have a great show. I want to, first and foremost, actually share my screen because I want people to see something. First of all, let me get this pulled up here. So as you can see right here, I did a poll on the community tab, and the poll was basically, I asked what people thought about Dragon Ball Daima episode 16, and 59% liked it. Now, based on my polls, a lot of the early episodes of Daima got the I loved it treatment. So I think when my audience says I liked it, it does make you wonder whether or not they actually liked it a lot or a little bit. I don't know. Jordan, what did you think about this episode? I thought that, again, criticism, they could have gotten to this faster, but the last maybe 5 minutes of the episode I thought were really important for progressing the story, but I do feel like they should have gotten here before.
Yeah, I think I've kind of given you my thoughts on this before. I think they have a limited amount of content, and my only huge criticism for Daima is that when they are padding for time, you can feel it. Like you can physically feel it.
I have more insight on that too.
The way they pad time, though, I don't necessarily have an issue with, because it is stuff that can have implications for the future. It is stuff that they can play on in some sense. They can use it at some point, and they can implement the stuff that they're showing. Like, for example, if the barrier between the demon realm is ever broken and the mortal realm and Super in the future, the Giants could play a big role in that. There's a lot of stuff that they could do if stuff like that was to happen in the future of the series that I'm considering when I see all the weird fluff and stuff that they add to the series. I'm thinking about the implications of the future. But for everyone who's just wanting to enjoy the meat of the series and the stuff that the series really has to offer, I do understand the frustration that people feel when they're essentially not getting, what the story is actually about, and just extra material that adds to the story as a whole. Like, I do understand that. It doesn't bother me that much, I guess.
Well, there's information about Daima that I haven't gone too deeply into because I was waiting for the show to actually air, but I've talked about it a little bit here. And when I say I've talked about it a little bit, I'm not talking about leaks. I'm talking about the writing process. If you've noticed, and I'm sure you and I have talked about this, and I'm talking to the chat and you, Jordan, I have said for the past 7 or 8 weeks, I've said that Dragon Ball Daima is too short to be a long-running series, but too long to be a movie. What I actually mean by that is the manuscript that Toriyama delivered to Toei for the story of Daima was not anywhere near worth 20 episodes worth of material, maybe 10 episodes, maybe even a longer movie. But the people at Toei, I suppose, and maybe Akio himself, realized that it they realized that it was almost like not enough, so they decided to add more stuff. Now, I'm not going to call that filler, although you might use that phrase. I wouldn't call it that. So, but the difference between this and what they did for the old stuff like Dragon Ball and Z and all that is that Toriyama is actually reading the anime scripts for Daima. So Toriyama is emailed, and I'm going to go much more into this in a future video, a behind the scenes video. Toriyama is emailed or was emailed like scripts for every episode in which he would go in and like make changes and approve it. So I think that's why it gets kind of slow. Now, if it were me or probably most of you or maybe even you, Jordan, I think what we would have done is filled in that extra time with either more lore or longer fights. I think Daima has delivered a few okay fights that were fun and a couple of really, really great fights with the Tamagami battles. And I think that I would have extended those a bit, maybe done them more in the Dragon Ball Z style. That's what I would have done. But there are certainly things like no matter what, no matter how much you love Daima or hate Daima, right? No matter how much you love Daima, right? You have to acknowledge it's not perfect. There are issues there. I want to address this comment by Silva Jun. He says, I can tell this is supposed to be on streaming service. It was. I told you that. Others told you that too. A lot of the leakers said this Dragon Ball Magic was supposed to be a show that was meant for streaming, not TV, which means that, and this is something I want to quickly tell you guys. I think based on some friends that I've talked to, I don't know what you think about this, Jordan. Daima actually works better. And by the way, hold on, KTP, you're wrong about that. They did not re-edit the episodes. You're wrong about that. They did not re-edit them. The ones you're getting now are the ones that were supposed to be on the streaming service. So let me get back to what I was saying. What I was saying, can't hear you.
I can hear you fine.
I don't know what this guy's talking about. He's saying he can't hear me, but everybody else can hear me.
Yeah.
No, listen to me. The Dragon Ball Magic was meant to be a streaming show. End of story. Fuji TV decided to get the rights after Toriyama died. That's the truth. This is literally the truth. So what I was going to say is I have heard from people, and I 100% agree, that if you binge Daima, like if you watch Daima, if you aren't watching it and you decide to watch all 20 episodes in a row, or at least, 10 and 10 or whatever, it does flow better. What do you think about that, Jordan?
Yeah, I think that's just objectively true because I don't. Okay, so if you're watching it weekly, one of the things that you don't really catch on is the fact that a lot of the stuff that feels like fluff is just them building a relationship between Goku and Pansy and Glorio. So you can tell that they're trying to like make the relationship between those three characters seem authentic. And so that's part of the reason that they keep going on adventure style, episodes and stuff like that, is because they want Glorio and They want everybody to be beholden to who Goku is as a character, even Neva. Like, for example, the stuff where they go to the giant, the episode where they go see the giants, it does seem like a filler episode until you consider from the writer's perspective, they're trying to have Neva get an understanding of who these characters actually are. But they want they want all of the relationships between all of the characters to feel authentic. They don't want you to just jump in to like them being close friends and like they don't want it to be jarring. So they kind of do have to take their time. Basically what I'm getting at, I think they are trying to take advantage of the fluff that they have and use it to their advantage in like in a way that's like actually beneficial and productive. But you can't really tell that until you binge the episodes. And I think that's what you're picking up on when you do binge the episodes, is what their intentions actually are with the writing and with the show, rather than just seeing it in sections where it's like, what's going on? This is like way different pace than I was expecting. It's just like, I think when you watch it all, their intentions overall become more clear. So yes, I do think that it's better to binge it for sure.
This makes me laugh right here. This guy says grown men discussing cartoons, right? Which I agree we are, but literally before he said Dr. Arinsu was hot. So yeah, we're discussing cartoons and you're masturbating to one, bro. So you sure are better than we are, buddy boy. All right, and what I was going to say before, we got a lot of super chats coming in. What I was going to say was I just think the execution could have been better. I mean, the thing is, I'm one of those guys that fully understands what Daima's trying to do, but there are still things that I think could be executed better. And I think I actually, one of the things that I think Dragon Ball fans have to really like remember that back in the day, during the era of like, let's say Z, you had Kozo Morishita and Takao Koyama as the showrunners. I don't think people really appreciate what those guys did for Dragon Ball Z. Like, I think people always, especially the Western fandom, which is very misinformed and very just people, the English speaking fandom, and I'm not talking about you guys in the chat, although some of you may fit into this, are very misinformed with how Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z came together. It wasn't just Toriyama. I think a lot of people think that it was just Toriyama doing everything. And I've seen people say that, Jordan, when Koyama and Kozo had a big role to play in why Z is was the way it was. You understand what I'm saying? And I think people fell in love with that production style more than the modern stuff. But you know what? I do think that the production style is better just because I like the old school method of how Dragon Ball and Z were put together.
Well, we were satisfied with those episodes being padded out with extended transformations and power-up scenes, which, are meaningless in the grand scope of things. It literally is just like...
It became a meme, too.
Yeah, it literally is just filling time for the sake of filling time in the most blatant sense, whereas Daima, for example, is just like giving you small and lore implications and stuff like that instead. So I also think, like, as a whole, people's attention spans are completely different as well. Like, I think the series is kind of hinging on people's interest in the overall lore implications, and a lot of the fans who don't really vibe with the pacing and stuff like that are used to seeing epic transformations, epic power-up scenes, things that are just overall hype moments, right? Like, one of the things that I've seen on Twitter, and you saw this too, was like people being like, nah, just give us raw hype moments. You know what I mean?
Those are the type of Dragon Ball fans that annoy the piss out of me because they watched Z once and they played the video games and their idea of Dragon Ball is just that. And they have no idea they've never read the manga. They've never watched the show in Japanese. They've never done any research on it. They just want to see cool fights. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with wanting to see cool shit. Yeah. But a television show can't just be cool shit. You have to care about the characters too.
Well, yeah, and you can tell that Daima is catered to hardcore Dragon Ball fans. I mean,
it's a 40-year anniversary show, bro.
Yeah. It's not for people who don't like really sink into like the overall lore implications and the story of Dragon Ball and stuff like that. It's not for those types of people. Like, don't get me wrong, I do think that they are trying to cater to the older fans. I just think their perception of what the older fans are isn't the same as what we see most older fans actually
Well,
are.
it's because the older fans in Japan are different than the ones that we
Right.
have here.
Right. But they did basically blatantly come out and say that Daima is targeted towards new audiences. They're trying to bring in new audiences as well as, the old heads, the people who have been around and have been watching it for a very, very long time.
It's an anniversary series. That's why you have stuff from OG, Heroes, Z, and GT, which I've been saying now for months. You're getting a lot of things that the older shows gave us.
Right, right. And because it's an anniversary show, it is kind of an awkward thing to try to do, I was just telling you about, or we were just talking about the initial trailer that they showed for Dragon Ball Daima, like way back in the day, where it like referenced all the different series in order. And you talked about in some of your videos about how Daima was going to reference the different series in order. It was going to start off just more like Dragon Ball, then become more like Dragon Ball Z, and so on and so forth. Like, you talked about this yourself, and that is kind of an awkward thing to do, with a 40th anniversary series. It's an awkward thing to try and squeeze in, and accomplish like as a series as a whole. So the fact that they even attempted to do this is a feat in itself. But yeah, I like I said, you're never going to be able to satisfy everyone. I understand some of the criticisms, but I'm not necessarily bothered. I'm just along for the ride. I'm just basically just trying to enjoy I'm trying to squeeze every drop of Toriyama content that I can out of Daima, even the stuff that seems meaningless, because this is it. This is it. Like, as far as we know, this is it. This is all you will ever get from this man ever again, unless there's some scripts that have been, left behind and stuff like that. And and maybe there's some content they're going to build on in the future. But to me, the way I'm looking at this is just my personal, feelings on the matter. Like, I'm not in any huge rush. I do want the series to be good. I do want it to don't take what I'm saying the wrong way. I want the series to be good, but I am also very confident now that we've gotten most of the plot and story beats and lore and stuff out of the way, that the next episodes are just going to be exactly what the fans wanted out of all of Daima.
That's what I was going to say. I think they have to have the big epic, the hype moments, and the big epic battle has to be in the next 4 episodes. If it's not, here's the way I see it. If you don't deliver on a great back and forth war of attrition in the next 4 episodes, even the more tolerable, more like nerdy Dragon Ball fans are not going to like it, because any big series, whether it be MCU, whether it be comic books of all different kinds, whether it be anime, manga, you have to have a big confrontation in the end. Cobra Kai's about to end. Next month, you have to deliver something that's going to give people a punch. So this upcoming battle with Gomah absolutely has to be great, to where even the fans who don't like Daima, even the ones who are not interested in Daima at all, are going to say, oh shit, that was pretty cool. At least they have to.
That will happen. I am
Well, me too. We read the Frieza saga on the Mangalorean earlier this week, back on Tuesday, and that Goku versus Frieza fight in the manga was so epic. That's what Daima needs to do, something on that level. Maybe not as good, because it's hard to top the classics, but something that feels epic and feels like, okay, this is the end of a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, it will be tragic if we don't get some big epic ending like that. I am confident that we will, but like I said, in the long term, it'll be, because you talked about this yourself, about how you felt like Daima was like being implemented to create future content, right? Like you had talked about this before.
That was the plan before Toriyama died. I don't know where they're, but I do have a theory though that a lot of fans have been saying that the reason why the Super manga has not come back yet is because the next arc will be tied into Daima, so they're expecting you to know that information going into it. But I have no evidence to prove that. It's just what people think.
Well, just thinking about it from Toriyama's perspective, rest his soul. If you look, for example, like that episode where like they're dodging all the lasers from the soldiers and stuff like that, that episode that like people freaked out over, and then like
I didn't like it either.
Pansy's dad showed up and like helped him or whatever. So let's say hypothetically that Pansy's dad becomes the Demon King, like the actual Demon King, right?
Right.
Hypothetically, like he's the one
takes Gomah's place.
Yeah. Because he does kind of look like the good Demon King that they showed in that flashback when the universes were created. Like
the
he's
purple
blue.
guy.
Yeah, he does look kind of like that guy. So I wouldn't be shocked. But that would make all of this stuff that Goku did with Pansy much more relevant, because that would make Pansy the princess of the demon realm. All of this. So you've noticed that like Pansy is like the one character that they have comment on like Goku's abilities and like who Goku is as a character and all this stuff more than any other character. She's the one that's always like, whoa, he can do this. Whoa, how strong is he? She's always the one that's like freaking out. So if she becomes the princess of the demon realm and all of the time between the end of Boot Saga and Super passes by, like we get all that time between the time that Pansy...
3.5 years.
Well, yeah, all that time passes. That would mean that if something happened in the future where the demon realm and the mortal realm could come into contact each other, Goku would be a legend in the demon realm. People would know who Goku is. People would be talking about him. They would know who he would have a huge impact on the demon realm.
He has a reputation now because they beat the Tamagamis.
Yeah. So I think what they're doing, because Toriyama back during the Tournament of Power era also talked about using the Tournament of Power to create more future content. He talked about that back then too. So what I think they're trying to do is I think they're trying to do another Tournament of Power moment where Goku has his effect on the demon realm, the same effect that he had on the fighters in the Tournament of Power, where they're like, oh, we're all going to start practicing martial arts and therefore gaining chi and becoming more powerful and stuff like that. I think they're trying to pull that same stuff that they did with the Tournament of Power in the Demon Realm. I think by the time Goku leaves the Demon Realm, it's going to be a very similar ending to the Tournament of Power, where they're all like, man, like Goku had such a huge impact on our world. We're all going to start trying to practice martial arts. We're all going to like try and like get stronger.
And that's what Goku has done historically to everyone.
Yeah. So I think that's what they're going for. I think that's the overall point of Daima.
That's a point,
yeah. Well, in terms of like the future story implications, like what it can offer, like the story as a whole, I think it's very similar to the Tournament of Power. That's what it can offer the series, is more future enemies that Goku has helped create as a result of like visiting there and having such a huge impact, so on and so forth. So
we got to get to these super chats. We got 13, brother. And then we're going to talk about the third eye. We're going to discuss the third eye here. Hugo says, Jordan, nice dime guitar. Is that the one right behind you there?
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah.
Jordan is a musician. The Sayuki theme that plays at the beginning of our Sayuki videos was done by him.
Yep. Yeah, and I do my own introduction theme for my channel. And yeah, I write a lot of music.
Airdog says Vegeta didn't kill the G-Force character development. I don't think Vegeta sparing them was necessarily character development. I think you're onto something in the sense that it wasn't like the Ginyu Force on Namek, and Vegeta's a different man now. But let's be honest, the bootleg Ginyu Force are not a threat. And that is one of my biggest criticisms of Daima. That is the one thing that I felt did not need to be in this show, man. As much as I enjoy the superhero parody stuff, we just saw some of it in Superhero with Gamma 1 and 2. I thought that the Ginyu Force, the bootleg Gendarme Force or whatever, the Kempe Tokusatsu was a waste of time. I really felt that way. I didn't think they had to be there, bro. They could have just
They
gone
didn't
right
have
to the
to be there,
palace.
but I do think he's right about their intentions because the series does all kinds of things to like test Vegeta to see if he's like he used to be. Like for example, whenever he met Tamagami 2, Tamagami 2 blatantly insulted him to his face. And the old Vegeta would never let that fly. He would never in a million years let
You're
that
just
fly.
a kid. Go suck on your mom's titties or whatever he said,
But
right?
at the end of that fight, what did he do? He let Tamagami 2 go.
And
He
Tamagami 2 respected him.
and he willingly participated in the trial, unlike on Namek, whenever he was killing the Namekians because they were like, we're not even going to give you the trial because you're so evil. Like, you're not getting it was very similar to Frieza. The Namekians were like, we're not even going to put you through this trial because you're so evil that we wouldn't give you the Dragon Ball anyway. Whereas, like, modern Vegeta is like, no, I will participate in the trial. I'm a different person. You know, like that scene where Goku is like,
he's also very confident now. Dragon Ball Z Vegeta was a very insecure little man. Dragon Ball, like post Buu Saga Vegeta, the one that's in Super and the one that's in Daima, is way more confident. But he regressed in Super. Yeah, only morons say that, bro. Go ahead, Jordan. I'm sorry.
But also, like, you know, and I talked about this on my channel, but like whenever Vegeta was talking about like how Goku was number one and Goku was fighting Kid Buu in Super Saiyan 3, the reason that he said Goku was number one was because of the things that Goku does that Vegeta practiced against Tamagami 2. So in that sense, like Vegeta changing, he in his own way has kind of like adopted Goku's mentality. And that's why like seeing Vegeta with like Super Saiyan 3 to me was really cool because it's like, oh, Vegeta has caught up to Goku's philosophy in that sense. Like, you know, he's like the reason he was capable of doing it is because he was practicing the same types of things that Goku practiced whenever he gave the number one speech. So like they do all kinds of little subtle things to point out that Vegeta is not the same character. And I do agree with you. The Ginyu Force stuff or the Ginyu Force replacement character.
I think they should have
There's
got.
no reason to do that because the Super Saiyan 3 Tamagami 2 scene hammered that point home. It hammered that point home the best it possibly could have. So I don't disagree with you that they were paralleling Vegeta's interactions with the Ginyu Force. I don't disagree with that at all, but it was unnecessary.
No, and I do. Well, the thing is that oftentimes I think that people, you know, because even you and I have disagreed about things like this. I think sometimes people think that you sometimes overly defend Dragon Ball. So hearing you criticize that, I think is good, so people can actually see that even you acknowledge that there's things that aren't necessary. There are a lot of things in Daima they could have shaved off and either made it a shorter series or made it longer with more action. I do think that they could have done more lore and more action instead of the Ginyu stuff. That's how I feel. Unhinged main event flow with the 100s. Thank you for the super chat. J Fire 88. Joy Fire. No, J Fire. I thought it was Joy. J Fire. Think it'll happen with Glorio between Rock and a Hard Place. I think he's asking.
He's wanting to know how Glorio is going to handle the next episode because Arensu is who he was working for, and now he's like hanging. He's literally right there in front of her, and it's like if they're ever going to acknowledge the fact that Glorio was a traitor, now they would have to do it. Right? This is the episode that they would have to do it. And to be honest with you, I don't think that the clan would be surprised. They've already talked about how like Shin's basically already pointed out Glorio's a liar. Like he already pointed out to Goku.
He already suspected it.
He was like, "Look, this dude's a liar. Like we can't fully trust him." But I do think that Glorio and the crew have developed a good enough bond that even if they find out that Glorio is a traitor, they're not going to care. And I also think that Glorio's only motivation, which he talked about whenever Shin was essentially, questioning him about it, is taking down Gomah because he doesn't like how Gomah and the Demon Realm as a whole exists at this moment. So I think Glorio is going to side with whoever has the best chance of taking down Gomah. And I don't think they're really going to have time to acknowledge the fact that Glorio was a double agent. Like in terms of like really
Well,
Like,
they're going to reveal it. They have to
they'll
because
reveal it, but
they,
in terms of like really making him feel guilty for it and making a dramatic scene out of it, I don't think they're going to have a lot of time to really acknowledge that. Now, I think
agree.
the person that's going to be the most disappointed. I don't think Vegeta, Piccolo, Shin, or Goku or any of those characters are going to care. I don't think
Pansy.
Only character I think it's going to hurt is Pansy. Yeah, that's right.
Pansy will be bothered by it. Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. I think that like okay, this goes back to what we said earlier. I think Daima works better binge because here's why. If you find out that it's actually Gloria who's been fucking with the ship and making it crash, then if you were to go back and binge Daima, every time the ship goes down, you're like, damn, he really is trying to stall for time. So all of that, I think, makes sense. I think all of that makes sense. But I think Gloria will definitely work against Gomah for sure. Captain Coldcut says, I really hope the final battle isn't just a Goku plus Vegeta fusion versus Gomah. I'm hoping it's at least a 3v1 battle with Goku plus Vegeta, Do plus Ku, and Gloria plus Pansy versus Gomah. Now, are you saying that, Captain Coldcut, are you saying that you want 3 fusions? You want Goku, Vegeta, Do and Ku, and Gloria Pansy, all 3 to fuse? I don't know if they're going to do 3 fusions. I could see a situation where Do and Ku, like Majin Ku gets absorbed by Majin Do. I could see that. And I don't know if it happens. It's not a leak. I don't know if it happens, but I just want the final battle to satisfy people. And I don't want it to be a situation where somebody gets a new form and just one-shots Gomah and we're done.
I do not want another Goku Vegeta fusion. I don't either, honestly. I know that's controversial. I don't want that.
They're not going to top Gogeta and Broly. They're not going to top the Gogeta scenes in Broly.
I'll be honest with you. I want Shin and Goku to fuse. Like, that's what I want. Like, if I had my preference, that's what I like. I would be so unbelievably hyped if Shin and Goku fused. Like, you have no idea. To me, that would be a better fusion.
So it's basically Zamasu, except the good version.
Yeah, that's what I want. And as far as like Gloria, because they have more than one fusion bug, I think.
I don't know if they both have to eat the bug at the same time. I think that's how it works, right?
Yeah. So I don't know how many fusions we're gonna get. I have to do the math on that. But
you know what? But Piccolo and Neba could use Namekian fusion. You know what would pop me? You know what would actually pop me? They won't do this. If we saw Metamorph fusion, Potara fusion, and Bug fusion all done in one episode with different characters. They won't do it, but that would be just wacky to think like this is the definitive fusion episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be wacky, yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see. I think we're gonna get some of that, but I kind of know a little bit too much about the fusion, or I think I know. We'll talk more about that in the future. Okay, so Captain Kolkas also says since they have 3 fusion bugs, they only need 1 to fuse. Well, no, I think they need 2 to fuse. I think the 3 is like if you want to do a triple fusion.
I don't remember. I don't remember how.
I mean, he's not wrong. If they're going to do the fusion at some point, we just don't know exactly who's going to fuse. I mean, it's just it's not a spoiler. They got the bugs for a reason, right? So
right.
Okay, AB says maybe poll on mystery character 80% Vegito bug. I don't understand the question.
I think he's just saying you should make a poll about all of the hypothetical fusions, like, you know, Vegito.
That's too many. That's too many possibilities, though.
Yeah, I agree. But that's just
too many possibilities. Yeah, I and also, again, you have to realize if Goku and Vegeta fuse with the bugs, it's not going to be Gogeta or Vegito. It has to be another name because it's a different type of fusion. So
right.
Yeah. Also, the mystery character. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. We should talk about this real quick, shouldn't we, Jordan? Let's discuss this very briefly, y'all, in case you guys might not have heard this, even though I have not done a video on it, and I probably should. Maybe I'll do one tomorrow. So I revealed that there are 5 new Dragon Ball Daima Gashapon figures coming out. And let me get the image a little bit bigger for you guys. So as you can see, we have base form Gomah, we have Pansy, we have Shin, we have Vegeta SS3, and we have a mystery one. Now the mystery one ain't Glorio because they wouldn't be covering up if it was a mystery. Now I think I know who the mystery one is, but I think people are assuming, is it going to be a new form or is it going to be a new fusion? And it could be either one. I'm going to say this right now because I don't think people got the hint yet. There's not going to be any more secret villains. The final boss of Dragon Ball Daima is Gomah with the third eye. The third eye is going to grant Gomah a tremendous amount of power. And it's going to take a lot to beat him. Jordan and I are going to talk about the third eye later on in the stream, but you can forget about like some mystery demon coming out. Like he is the final villain. So, so what do you think about this?
I don't even think fusions will be able to take him out either. I think they'll probably use the fusions to like face Kuundu, but I don't think I think he's going to be like OP. Like I think he's going to be ridiculously powerful because one thing I find interesting about the third eye though is the fact that it did change Gomah's personality. Like he's not behaving the same.
Don't know him. He's become more of a monster.
Yeah. So and if you notice, the Demon Kings didn't wear the third eye all the time. They only put it on every once in a while when it was like absolutely necessary, right?
Right.
And there's got to be a reason behind that because otherwise they would wear it all the time. So honestly, I wouldn't be shocked at all if they treat this power up of Gomah almost like a completely separate character. Like I wouldn't be shocked at all if they like it. I mean, it is Gomah, but I wouldn't be shocked if they treated it as like a separate entity in the sense that it's not really Gomah. It's like, you know,
well, I titled the stream Super Gomah. I don't think his actual name is going to be Super Gomah. I think it'll be something like, you know, Gomah Magic Power Unleashed, or Gomah Demon Power Unleashed. The thing people have to understand is this show was originally called Dragon Ball Magic. That's not bullshit. Several of the leakers in the fandom have literally told you it's called Dragon Ball Magic, including me. I was the first one. You know how I know it's called Dragon Ball Magic? Because I have Toei documents on my hard drive that call it Dragon Ball Magic. So what does that tell you? There's a lot of magic in this show, and Gomah's magical abilities are going to be enhanced as well with the third eye. So it'll take magic to beat him, I would say.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what do you think about the planet, or the overall structure of the demon realm?
It's a big eye.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that? I haven't really got to talk to you about that.
I think it's kind of cool. It's different, you know. It's almost like one of the 12 universes. It's almost like the 13th universe. It's round, but it's got layers to it. I mean, there is a Dragon Quest game, and some of you know which one I'm talking about, where there is and we've talked to Jordan, I think you know. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a Dragon Quest game where you go into the Hollow Earth and there's another world inside the Hollow Earth. The theory of Hollow Earth has existed for centuries. Scientists at one time, not now, but they one time believed that beneath the surface of the earth, like under our feet, there's another world down there. Some think there's dinosaurs. Like there's been movies made on this, Land of the Lost. So the idea of there being a hollow earth where there's a world inside of a world has always been cool to me, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, the reason I think it's fascinating is because it makes me wonder which came first, the third eye or the 3 demon realms. Because is the third eye connected to it has to be connected in some way, right? So my theory, and this is just my theory, is that at some point whoever created the three demon realms was the original owner of the third eye. Like the
That makes
original,
perfect sense. That
yeah,
makes
the
perfect
original
sense.
like creator of the three realms used the power of the third eye to create the three realms. That's my
Yeah, and
theory.
then you know what it could be? It could be that the third eye has that old absolute power corrupts absolutely. Like maybe the original creator, and this is a theory, not a leak. Maybe he had the third eye, created the worlds, but then it started to take over him. He became power hungry and he got greedy, and then he realized, okay, this third eye is fucking dangerous. In other words, like what Kanye said, no one man should have all that power. I think that, but we know that the bad guy's going to lose. Gomah is not going to win Dragon Ball Daima. We just
Right.
don't know how. That hasn't been revealed yet. Well, it's coming up. All right. Moving on. Robert Wolf, are we going to get Vegito and Count Dooku versus Jiren? If by Jiren you mean Gomah, it's not going to be Vegito if there's a fusion between them. That would be a leak, bro. That would be a leak, and I don't want to get into it. What do you have to say about that if you have anything to say about it?
Jordan. I doubt it.
Okay, all right.
Maybe.
Speed Punch says, Geekdom and Jordan, TikTok made people's span bad. Attention span, I agree. Also, I found it funny how people hate Ku, but now love them. But, brother, you know why I don't find that funny? Because that's Dragon Ball fans, and they've always been like this. Dragon Ball fans, and this is not to you guys in the chat. I'm not talking about you guys, the overall community. A lot of them are very, very emotional, and a lot of them don't have very good emotional self-control. The minute they see something they don't like, they start to scream how much it sucks. We didn't want this. We didn't want this. And then when they get something, you know what? It wasn't so bad. Broly. Oh, God, they're canonizing Broly. This is the worst thing ever. Then the movie comes out. Oh, man, that was dope. Did you see that movie? Oh, my God. Superhero. We wanted cooler. We wanted a Broly sequel. Yo, bro, Gohan got a new form. That's the Dragon Ball fandom. That's the Dragon Ball fandom. I have been in this fandom. I've been doing YouTube now for 10 years, and I've been watching the fandom now since the 90s. They literally are always like that. They shit on something and they end up liking it in the end. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Daima. I think some people are going to dislike Daima no matter what, and that's their opinion. But that always happens in Dragon Ball, where they shit on something before they like it. Or they shit on something and then later in life they tend to appreciate it. I mean, if there comes a time, bro, where there actually is no more Dragon Ball, when they announce we're done, no more manga, no more anime, no more movies, people are going to look back at Daima and be like, damn, maybe that wasn't so bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it really isn't. It's got problems, but it's not that bad. I'm sorry, Jordan. Go ahead.
It's fine. I do think that people tend to not want to think about things much. So when they see somebody on Twitter or on social media complaining or making a critical point about a series, they're just like, oh, yeah, they've got a point, and then they don't think about it any further. And I think that, it takes a while for people to even want to put the effort in to think about the criticisms that they read online in general as well. And I think that that's another big part of it. It's just like, you're kind of demanding effort on the fans' part by, not just like trying to interpret the series correctly, but also taking criticisms and using critical thinking to dissect whether or not they're actually good criticisms. That also takes time. So it's just,
Yeah. And again, I'm not speaking for every single person, just a lot of them are like that. So moving on here. Hold on. Okay, Jake says this final fight has to stick the landing. I agree. Super and the Tournament of Power had a ton of problems, but people seem to forget it because of UI and the Jiren fight. That is 100% true. Dragon Ball Super episodes 130 and 131, they kind of made everybody come around on Super. I do believe that, and again, Jake is 100% right. This upcoming battle with Gomah, this has to kick ass. Like I said, this is not about us making fun of simpleton fans or me and Jordan being snobs and saying, "Oh, you should like." There's a big misconception that nobody here is trying to tell you that you should like something you don't like. But I think the best thing for Daima to do is give us a satisfying conclusion where everyone is happy. And the way they can, and not everyone's going to be happy literally, but the way they can satisfy most fans is with something really epic. They have to show how dangerous Gomah is and then show our heroes overcoming that. Let's go back to the old series. Let's go back and retrace our steps. The Piccolo arc. Piccolo was destroying cities with a flick of a finger. If he didn't destroy those cities, as fans, we wouldn't be like, holy shit, who's going to stop him? That's called in professional wrestling getting heat. Let's go to the Saiyan saga. Nappa is responsible for Piccolo dying. Yamcha was the Cyberman, but it was still from the Saiyans. Tenshinhan, Chaozu, Goku shows up. Goku beating Nappa is so satisfying because Nappa kicked all these guys' asses. Then the Frieza saga. They built up Frieza for literally a year in the manga. This is like Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. A year buildup for Goku and Frieza. So the fight had to stick the landing, and I thought that it did. So this fight has to end epically.
Think about everything that's being implied and everything that's likely going to happen in the next few. We have fusion. Like we literally saw in like the last episode preview that warped purple like platform that was being created. You know, that like warped dark magical like platform. That's like an epic. That's setting up the stage for an epic interaction. Like that's the entire reason that that's there is because we know for a fact shit's about to get real. Like not only do we have like a bunch of fusions to look forward to, we also might have a hypothetical like magic form, like a new magic form coming. Like who knows? Like,
did I show you the final battle?
No.
Okay.
No, you haven't shown me.
Yeah, because I that's the thing. I haven't, contrary to what some may believe, I haven't shown everybody everything. I know I showed it to Tex, but that's somebody I know in real life. I haven't shown it to you, but now we can kind of talk about it a little bit. Super Gomah is in that, and there's destruction all around him. So this is not a spoiler if you've been watching Dragon Ball. If you actually watched, if you say that's a leak, bro, I think you're an idiot. If you actually watch Dragon Ball, every single arc, right? There's destruction everywhere, whether it be Frieza with the planet falling apart, Cell with Goku and Trunks dying, the Buu saga with the earth blowing up. Before Goku and the gang save the day, there's got to be some destruction. So the Demon Realm is about to get toe up with this big fight. And I don't think people really understand what's going to happen, but they will. And it'll remind them of Dragon Ball Z and OG Dragon Ball era final fights. I just hope it turns out good. JD with the degrees says, we finally got the Degasu and Shin moment. Do you think it was handled well? We didn't get the recontextualization Makaio Shin lore, the regional Kais, etc. I hope Degasu survival leads into super. Degasu survival leads. Okay, so I'm going to answer the first question. I'm going to let Jordan go. I do think it was not done that well because Degasu was not that interesting of a character. I feel like that character was very underwritten. I wanted more from Degasu. I wanted to find out more about him. I wanted him to be more interesting. He's just another guy like a Rinsu, except his plan is not as good as a Rinsu. So ultimately, I do feel like when we look back on Daima, as fans, we're going to say, okay, Danny, I think Tamagami's awesome idea. Demon Realm, awesome idea. Neva, awesome idea. Degasu, so-so. The Ginyu Force. There's things that aren't that great, bro. Like we can be critical. As Dragon Ball fans, we can be critical. Go ahead, brother.
I have a different perspective on Degasu. I was hoping that Degasu would become a more serious character, but now that I've seen what their intentions are with this character, I kind of get it. So to me, Degasu is basically an example of what the Glen used to be. I think that in that sense, his character was implemented well. I don't think he had as big a role as I would like for him to have. I think he's a very interesting character, and he definitely could be implemented better. But the fact that he's like this measly, weak, because the only reason the Glens are so strong is because they have chi. They get strong through chi. And Degasu had no idea what chi was. So he is like a weak, measly character. He's not like he's essentially, in my opinion, the perfect example of what the Glen were before they started working hard on themselves and becoming gods and finding some form of spiritual enlightenment. I think that he is just a Kai that is completely void of the things that the Kaioshin themselves practice and the benefits that come from that. And I also think that role is split between Arinsu and Degasu. I just think that Degasu is a much more weak, because Degasu doesn't have the whole like mad scientist thing going on where he's like creating life and stuff like that.
He's not friends with Marva.
Yeah, he was basically just trying to manipulate Gomah. I think that basically shows, I think it says something about the ancient Glen. And in the episode prior to this one, they did show some of the old demon kings, and one of them looked like a Glen. So there are some like really cool like implications there that maybe at some point in the past, because
talking.
Why would Degasu imply that it's within the nature of the Glen to try and gain higher positions if they had never done something in the past to show that it's in their nature to try and gain higher positions, which means it's very likely at some point in the past that Degasu tried to dethrone, or no, not Degasu, but a Glen like Degasu tried to dethrone the Demon King. And, this essentially I think that aspect of Degasu works. I like that part of Degasu's character. I do think they could have done more with him, and I am kind of disappointed that and I hope he comes back. I agree with JD in that sense. Like I do hope that he comes back. But I think that role is split between Degasu and Arinsu. And that kind of leads into the next episode. So yeah.
I just want to say this is the only Demon King that matters. And the fact that he made a cameo in Dragon Ball Daima is the greatest thing to ever happen to me. And look, what's that on his head? He's got the third eye. He had the third eye back in 1987 when he plunged the Aleph Guard into darkness. You understand what I'm saying? This is the only Demon King that matters to me, brother. And look, he's got his hands out. You know why he has his hands out like that? Because he just saw Arinsu. Use your imagination, brother.
But that leads into your thing about the Makaiyoshin, JD, Arinsu. Because Arinsu, I think, is also an example of the ancient ways of the Glen as well. Because just like I think somebody created the demon realm using the third eye, that's one of the theories that I have. Another one of the theories that I have is that the Glen has always created life, but instead of creating life the way the Supreme Kais do, where they want them to have free will and to develop spiritually to the point that they're like powerful the way that Goku and company is, they use science and magic to basically create life in order to manipulate it, right? They want to use life as a tool. Like, I think that's why the Demon Realm originally made life and the Makaiyoshin originally made life, was to use that life as a tool for their own benefit. And Shin even kind of hints at this whenever he talks about how the Namekians had abilities that the Demon Kings would implement and use as tools to essentially, further their rule and their authority. That basically hints that a lot of these beings who are powerful were created within the demon realm to serve the king of the demon realm. Whereas in the mortal realm, they want the beings of the mortal realm to develop their chi and basically become gods, in the same sense that we've seen the Glen or the gods of destruction or people like that. And that's something that I find very interesting about Dragon Ball Daima, is that Shin is using these characters who have been developed in the mortal realm differently than how they would normally develop life in the demon realm by just over time letting them evolve and letting them grow more powerful and letting them gain chi. And Shin, the only reason Shin's are alive right now is because of Goku. And because of the fact that Goku as a life form developed and became what he is today. Like, that's the only reason that Shin is alive, and that's the only reason he survives this adventure throughout the demon realm. Like, so he's essentially benefiting from the creation process that the Supreme Kais used to create life, in the sense that Goku has been there to protect him, and Goku has been there to like guide him through the demon realm. Whereas like Arinsu, she's like a parallel to that. She's created Ku and Du to achieve her own selfish desires, and that's what makes this next episode so interesting. Is the fact that you've got two beings that were created by a Makaio Shin-like figure, Du and Ku, fighting all of these beings that were created and developed in the mortal realm. So it's like Shin's life forms that he's developed versus Arinsu's life forms that she's developed, and that's what this big fight actually is. It's kind of like a fight between the two different versions of creating life. So they have kind of expanded on the Makaio Shin in their own unique way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Without like openly like talking about it, they have like expanded on it in like a unique way.
It's been sort of tweaked, is the way I see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert Wolf says, I really hope SSJ4 isn't in Daima. All right. He's asking that question to see if I'll hint at something. I know what his game is, bro, and I'm not gonna fall for it. Speed Punch says, imagine a Black Frieza with a third eye. That would be so crazy. Also, if King Kadan needs help, I'd Black Frieza takes over. If Black Frieza takes over, I also argue with Jordan. I think you mean agree with Jordan, because argue and agree are like opposites.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to make a video. I'm going to make a video about Frieza going to the demon realm, probably after Daima ends. I think I'm going to make a video on it, because I do have some ideas about that. But yeah, this is the real Demon King, brother. The master of darkness and ice, bro. I love Zoma. All right, not Gomah, Zoma. Jacob Johnson says, hey, man, big fan. Thank you. I hope you're cool with me asking this. You said a new form is coming. Without details, did you personally like this new form? I do. I do like it. In fact, no, I'm not going to say that. I do like it because it's different. Jordan, I'll just... Do you like it, George? Just say it. Do you like it? Do you like it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because you haven't seen it, but you have sort of seen it. We have a mutual friend. We have a mutual friend who's a good artist, and he drew a really good... I'm talking too much, bro. I'm not going to keep going with this. Hugo says, I think the reason Neva's tagging along is he's making sure they're worthy of making a wish to this Dragon Ball by saving the demon realm. Looking forward to see how it pays off. Definitely possible, but no, they need him.
That is 10,000% what's happening. They're like,
well, I'm saying they also need him to actually make the wish because he speaks Namekian.
Well, so Neva keeps saying things that Kami used to say. And what I mean by
he's a lot like Kami.
So that episode where Goku's like, hey, you made that giant shield. Why don't you help us out? And then Neva's like, no, you guys need to figure this out for yourselves. That's literally what Kami told Goku when it came to like what he thought the mortals should do. He basically said, I think the mortals should figure out and solve their own problems. And if they can figure out and solve their own problems, then I think that they're worthy of having a wish from the Dragon Balls. So yeah, they blatantly reference that through Neva. So yes, I definitely think that's what's happening here. I think Neva is observing Goku and Vegeta. He's trying to figure out whether or not they are actually the type of people that he would grant a wish with the Dragon Balls, because he's talked about it multiple times about how he created the Tamagami to prevent certain people from using the Dragon Balls. He even separated the demon realm because, a bunch of people were coming to the second demon realm and harassing the Namekians. So, I definitely think that he's he's trying to vet Goku and Vegeta and everybody else, so to speak. So
Yeah. No, I and he's not a villain. He's just kind of neutral, at least for now. Air Dog says Glorio reveals he poisoned their food and is triggered by a button. He pushes the button, but nothing happens. Shin smiles and holds an antidote. That actually, what you just wrote, is so Toriyama-esque. It's not gonna happen, but it totally is something Toriyama would write. Like, haha, I got you. And then the good guy's like, nah, you didn't get nothing. Like that's something he would do. All right. JD says, I think the third eye is self-aware or possibly sentient. That would be a fair guess. The way the eye reacts is strange. I think it'll be similar to Bleach and the Hongyaku. It may have a flaw where it can reject the user. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think the reason it's sentient is because it's the personality that you're imagining that it has is literally just like an exaggerated form of what happens to the people that wear it. I think the eye itself is like pure wrath and destruction and evil. Basically,
and power and magic and magic.
The demonic nature of beings, of any being, like exaggerated and synthesized into an eye. I think it literally brings out like the demonic aspects of your nature. So I think that what you're seeing, like the fact that you're seeing it like react and the fact that it's alive is just a reflection of the fact that it itself is just a reflection of a pure demonic nature. Like I think its personality is just that of a pure demon is basically what I'm saying.
But would that not still make it sentient in a way though? Like
it would
maybe not necessarily intelligent, but sentient. Yeah.
Yeah, it would make it sentient, but not in the way that you would imagine. Yeah.
We're going to talk more about the third eye shortly because Jordan and I have a lot to talk about when it comes to the third eye. But I want to get through some of these questions. What to do when so high, knocked out, asleep, irresponsive? If you're talking about yourself, bro, you're probably dead. But if you're talking about somebody you know, call 911. I don't understand the question, but all right. Captain Cold Cuts. Episode 4 stated that 2 halves of 1 bug is needed to fuse. Goku is and the gang has 3 bugs. I don't remember them saying that. I'm not saying you're a liar. I'm just saying I genuinely don't remember.
No,
so you may be right, and I forgot. No, he might be right. I'm saying I forgot.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm just going to say it. I think one of those bugs will be used to refuse Kibito and Shin at the end of the series to get them back to being one being again. I think it's going to happen. That's been my thought since episode 4 aired. Sleep said Dragon Ball fans are like the One Piece fans, hate current One Piece fans, saw the cool fights and claim they love it, but don't watch the anime. Same with the fans mostly only watch DBZ or GT. Well, you should learn what a period and a comma is, brother, because that's a difficult question to read. But what you're basically saying is you're talking about the casual fans that just want like cool looking moments and shit like that. And there are a lot of them out there. You know, the thing is, here's kind of my thing. If you want to be a casual fan of Dragon Ball, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a casual fan of the NBA, the NFL. Like I'll watch a game or two. You know, I like sports. Like my sports are usually combat sports, boxing, wrestling, mixed martial arts. But I'll watch a football game. I enjoy it. I'll watch a basketball game. Like I used to be really into basketball, believe it or not. Chris Paul was my favorite player at one time. Like I love CP. Like and Chris Paul. Don't take that out of context. I'm talking about Chris Paul, okay? So, anyways, but like, if you're gonna be a casual fan of Dragon Ball, don't like pretend that, you know, don't like pretend that you know more than the rest of us because you don't. All right, here's one. Is it true that Gohan will be in the final battle of Daima? Let's use our brain for a minute. How is Gohan going to get into the demon realm if Warp is asleep?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. All right. Khan JKJ, with all of Neva's powers, he just might unlock a form for someone. He just might. In fact, I know somebody who actually believes that's going to happen. What do you think about that? Neva uses his magic to unlock somebody's form?
I don't think it'll happen. It kind of goes against what I was just talking about, to be honest.
Well, what if Gomah's about to kill Neva or some shit?
I still don't think he would do it.
Maybe Arinsu will do it. I don't know. Hardcore GYT. Gomah seems boring. He sat around for 16 episodes and did nothing. He got strongest weapon in the show. Yeah, brother, play a JRPG. Every JRPG. Bro, where's he at? This dude was in his castle underground the entire game. That's just kind of how it is. Frieza, I do agree with him, though, that characters like Frieza, Cell, and Boo did do more stuff. They could have done more with Gomah, but I think the whole idea behind Gomah is this is the way I see it about Gohan. Or I'm sorry, about Gomah. Gomah is Pilaf if he were powerful. When he's in his base form, he's like Pilaf. He's a goof. Now that he has the third eye, he's actually going to be a problem. And yeah, he looks like Jiren. So
yeah, honestly, I
yeah.
think I like Gomah. Like, so I kind of agreed with you. Like, okay, so I think originally I appreciated Gomah because of how him and Degasu interacted with each other. But after I saw Gomah by himself trying to get the third eye out, I actually liked him better by himself. I actually think he worked better as a character by himself as like a goofy emperor who has to like do things for himself because he's such a bad ruler that everybody around him is like essentially abandoned him. I love that. I actually really like that about Gomah's character is that like because the thing is like, and this is so funny to think about. Like when Degasu was first introduced with Gomah, he was all excited because Gomah was the king, right? He was like, yes, I've got this like easy manipulatable tool that I can just use to do whatever the hell I want. And then that episode where they're fighting the military and Goku turns Super Saiyan and he like blows everybody away with one blast. And then Gomah sees it on the screen. And then Degasu is just like super disgusted because he's like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, how could I let this dude possibly be king? Like, I think that's the thing that I appreciate about Gomah is that he is bad at his job. Like, he is like really actually not good at being king at all. And I think that makes his character interesting. I don't think that's boring. Like, I actually think that makes him interesting.
Yeah, I don't think he's boring. I think he's just played up like a comedy goof. Like, what happens when a goofy character actually gets power? That's kind of what you have to think about. What happens when a goofy comic... It's almost like if Yajirobe wished for immortality. That type of shit. All right, yeah. This guy Sahir said the opening and most of all of the earlier stuff was done months before the actual series. You're wrong about that. That is incorrect information. That is a wrong assumption. The opening was not done before the series. The opening was actually one of the last things they did. Samuel Campos. We got a few. We keep getting them, bro. Do you think Gomah will join the trend of villains defeated, followed by becoming a Demon World ally for a future story? So he's basically saying much love from Samuel. Thank you. He's basically saying he's going to become a good guy. I don't think so. I really don't. What do you think?
I don't think he'll become a good guy necessarily, but I do think that he'll survive.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think that he's going to become a prisoner of war. But basically similar to
like a prisoner of King Kadon, like a servant of his.
Yeah. I think that him and Degasu, because it would be so funny if like after this was all over, him and Degasu like had to deal with each other and they hated each other. You know what I mean? Because like the only reason they got along at all is because Gomah and Degasu were like Gomah was the king and Degasu could use him. So I think this is just what I would do because I think it'd be hilarious. Like after they defeat Gomah, like they lock Gomah up back with Degasu, and then like Degasu and Gomah are like going
cellmates,
at it, you know?
Yeah. That would be kind of funny, actually.
Yeah,
that would be kind of funny. I actually have a question for you, but I want to get to the next one. I don't think he's going to turn good, but you're right. He may survive. Clapping Cheeks, one of my favorite names in the entire platform. Sup, guys? I hope all is well. And do you think the heaters might be from the demon realm as well? I just noticed they look very similar to some of the characters in Daima, but again, that's Toriyama's art in a nutshell. I said all the way back in episode 1 or 2. It was early in Daima. Early in Daima, I did talk about this. I do think that if they reveal that the heaters and Moro are from the demon realm, it would actually make sense. Moro's a warlock. He knows magic. The heaters are blue skinned with pointy ears. I think it would make sense that they were from the demon realm.
Well, also Gast has a demonic transformation as well. Like they literally like wear charms to like prevent themselves from turning into these like demonic monsters. So yeah, like it would make sense.
We're getting a lot of these, man. We're gonna get to the main event topic in a minute. Just we're getting a bunch of these, yo. Bastion.
Shout out to Uchi in the chat. Shout out to Uchi in the chat.
Oh, he's in there. Hey, what's going on? I thought you worked on Sundays. Will says, any chance you could say if there's a Saiyan tail involved in the new form? I cannot say. This is like if somebody. Yeah, they're trying to trap me because they're trying to trap me because this is like when you talk to like a person when you ask a chick like, do you have feelings for me, and she's like, maybe. Like, come on, bro, come on. I'm not gonna say nothing. That is a good question though.
Yeah,
Sleep. Thank you, Sleep. Yeah, Jake Johnson says, I would love to see Goku get the third demon eye and have it bring out the demon Uzaru within and get a demonic SS4. You got SS God and then SS Demon. I would not be against that either. A lot of folks seem to think that Broly is going to get that Super Saiyan 4 or whatever, and I don't think he will. I think people are confusing Ikari for Super Saiyan 4. I don't understand why they are not. Broly's Ikari form is not Super Saiyan 4. It's not even remotely the same thing. I don't understand what moron on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok made that up. They are not the same thing. Broly has the power of a great ape inside of him. Super Saiyan 4 is not the power of a great ape inside of you. Super Saiyan 4 is a mutation caused by controlling your Golden Uzaru, mutating using the blood waves. It's not even the same thing. I want to know what moron said that it's the same thing, dude.
No, it's not the same thing.
It's not even close. It's not even close. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah, it's almost like a reverse. Like it's like a complete opposite, to be honest. Like
yeah. Xavier Gaming. Gomah is awesome, and I love how he parallels the anger Muniel from Sandland. Okay, I found that out after because I haven't seen the rest of the Sandland episodes. There's a character.
You haven't? Oh my gosh, man.
No, I know. You're frozen, by the way. I don't know if there you're back now. No, I haven't, and I know that Muriel transforms and gets a buff form. So Toriyama doing the same thing twice, and that was 7 episodes, right? No. How long was Sandland the anime? 14?
I don't remember. Yeah, something.
I only saw the first 7, bro. I didn't get to see the rest of it.
Well, you should. You definitely should. It's a great series.
I need to. I just been very busy. Kazi, thank you for the donation. Junior says, where's this quote from? Cricket? Nobody understands cricket. You got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. That's Turtles 1990, bro. That's Casey Jones. Of course I'm going to understand that. That's my favorite movie as a kid. Still one of my favorites. JD says, the third eye in Western philosophy is interesting. It goes back to the Greeks. Well, a lot of ancient religions have gone over the third eye. Like the soul god, it was continued in the Dark Ages with Galen, St. Augustine, and then the Renaissance with Descartes and his Cartesian dualism. Yeah, you nerd. That's all true. We're going to get into that here in just a minute, which I know you're going to be drooling over this conversation because we're going to talk about your boy. Oh my God, I keep forgetting his damn name again, bro. Erland Shen. We're going to talk about Erland Shen here in just a minute, bro. So he's going to have a big boner very soon here. Corey Earthman says, is that your real last name, bro? Earthman? That's a wacky last name. I used to know a guy whose last name was Drinkwater. I'm just saying.
Wow.
All right. He says, do you think any other sets of Dragon Balls will ever be reused? I think Frieza or any villain could collect the Demon Realm set. Also, do you think Dabura is worth a return? Third Eye Dabura movie. All right. First of all, yes, I do think that we'll see more Dragon Balls get reused if the series were to continue on the way it's going, like, Super. As far as Dabura coming back, I don't think so, man. I think he's being used in Daima to tell the backstory of the Demon Realm and the Third Eye and all that, but I don't believe that he'll be coming back. I think he's just dead and it's over. So, any thoughts on what he said?
No, I mean, I've always thought Dauber was a really cool character, but I don't think he's going to be coming back.
See, okay, somebody in the chat actually clip said Dabura prequel movie. Okay, I'm just going to say this, and this is also for Corey. I would love a Dabura prequel movie. I would also love a Pride Troopers prequel movie, Yamoshi prequel movie, even a movie about Vegeta and Nappa going around fighting aliens when Vegeta was a kid. I would love all of that. I would love all of it. It doesn't mean we're going to get it. And I feel like I'm angry because there's so many great stories they could tell in the past and we never get it. And it pisses me off. So
yeah, be nice if they had an infinite budget for sure.
There's just so much potential. Sleep says, I'm reading the manga at the moment, finished Pilaf, and now I'm on the training arc and about this tournament. Make sure you watch the Mangalorean and watch it. After you get done with a volume, turn on the Mangalorean, listen to what we have to say, and then go on. Because it's meant to be, the Mangalorean is meant to be listened to as you go through the manga. So, because remember, it's all about context. Okay, the Third Eye, brother. Let's talk about it. Tell us, all right. So the Third Eye, guys, there is a link between Tien Shinhan, and Gomah, but it's not an in-universe Dragon Ball link. It's more so a link between where Toriyama got the concept for the Third Eye. I talked a little bit about this last week, and that is a character by the name of Erland Shen, who is from Journey to the West. If you've played Black Myth, he is a boss. Can you elaborate on Erlang Shen, how Ten Shinhan is influenced by him, and how the Third Eye of Gomah? Talk about all that shit, bro. So now people can understand the real connection here.
So Erlang Shen has a third eye, which, of course, is a symbol of enlightenment. Buddha, when he attained his third eye, that was essentially symbolic of him attaining a Buddha nature, right?
Which is enlightenment, right?
Yeah, it's enlightenment. Yeah, and so Erlang Shen, he was related to the royal family of the Jade Emperor, and so he had like crazy powers. He was ridiculously powerful, but he was an assassin that was hired to take down Sun Wukong. That's who Erlang Shen is. He was a god assassin that was hired to kill Sun Wukong because at the time, Sun Wukong was trying to invade heaven and kill the Jade Emperor and take everything over. And Erlang Shen, as an assassin, ended up being the one. He was actually the one that ended up helping Lao Tzu capture Sun Wukong. Everybody else that had fought Sun Wukong prior to that could not defeat him. Erlang Shen really gave Sun Wukong a run for his money.
He kicked his ass, didn't he?
Yeah, if it wasn't for Erlang, because Erlang Shen had all of the same abilities as Sun Wukong, but also he was just more powerful overall in some sense. And he was very disciplined and trained because he had existed amongst the gods like his whole life. But anyway, he was an assassin who was hired to kill Sun Wukong, and he had a third eye, which was symbolic of him being an enlightened being. And Tien, as a character, Toriyama has already blatantly said that the reason Tien can't use the full power of his third eye is because he became evil. He also said that he got the inspiration for the third eye from different beings throughout Eastern mythology that had the third eye. So it's very, very clear what he's referencing when it comes to the third eye. But the really cool thing,
and I do want to add real quick that if you remember, now I haven't seen the dub of Dragon Ball in a long time, but if you remember, who was Ten Shinhan's idol? Tao Pai Pai. And Tao Pai Pai was what? An assassin. Ten Shinhan wanted to become the greatest assassin in the world. That's right out of Erland Shen, more than even Gomah is.
Yeah, that's true.
Your connection's bad right now, bro. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, well, I don't know what exactly I can do about
Look at this guy. Can you confirm a new form? Welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well. It must be your first time. No, go ahead, bro.
But with Gomah, I think it's like an opposite of what the Buddha's third eye represents. Instead of it representing a Buddha nature, I think it represents a demonic nature. And I think that's what they're going for.
Yes,
I think they're trying to I think they're trying to parallel the Buddhist concept of a third eye and basically make like a demonic version of it. And that's what the third eye is. Like it awakens your demonic nature rather than your Buddha nature. And I think that's what they're going for with Gomah. Because Gomah is inherently evil, but you don't really see it as much until the third eye. It's like it awakens.
You're frozen right now. I don't know what's going on with your connection, but you're completely frozen right now.
Okay.
Like you're like this. Okay, now you're moving again. Now you're frozen again.
I have no idea what's going on.
I don't know. Is your kid downloading a bunch of movies?
I don't know. I hope they're not using up my internet.
Well, I did want to bring up something when it comes to the whole third eye thing. Do you think if they're actually borrowing this from Journey to the West, this was not in Journey to the West, but do you think that if somebody pure-hearted got the third eye, that it would not make them evil, or is it just something that corrupts?
It depends on whether or not the third eye actually possesses the person or if it just awakens their inner demonic nature. But I think that it's probably powerful enough that it might, honestly. Like, it might.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but I've been talking about the third eye now for months because it's going to give what I said earlier that when it comes to the final battle, which is Super Gomah against the rest of the people, I had been discussing the third eye, and I was trying to explain to people before this episode even aired, before the last two episodes aired, that the third eye is like a big MacGuffin. Meaning, I said if Dabura had the third eye, he would have been able to beat Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Dragon Ball Z and probably Majin Buu. No, he would have beaten Majin Buu. I don't know about Vegito because Vegito is in a class in and of himself. I mean, Vegito's like in the Z era, nobody was stronger than Vegito. Like Vegito wasn't even sweating. But the third eye is going to give Gomah a boost that will make him more powerful than Super Saiyan 3. So what does that mean? That means that when or if and when Goku uses Super Saiyan 3 on Gomah or Vegeta, it ain't going to be enough. Something else is going to have to happen. And so on and so forth.
Another thing I find fascinating about the third eye is how similar it is to the Majin mark. Have you ever thought about that?
In the middle of the forehead. Well, it's no different than the in the Bible, bro. 666 on your wrist or on your forehead.
Yeah.
When you have a symbol on your forehead, it represents like ownership almost, right?
I just think it's interesting that not only does the Majin mark bring out Vegeta's demonic nature, it also makes him stronger. And I think that that's literally exactly what the third eye is doing. So there is like a correlation between the third eye and the Majin mark in that sense, like an interesting one.
Okay, I want to address this. You said the third eye in the intro is when it's used. So will Super Gomah continue to power up? I did not say that. You're misquoting me. I said the third eye is in the intro and it will be used. The intro, people, y'all got to stop looking at the intro and trying to pick hints out of it, bro. Like, you got to stop doing that. Whenever an anime, how many animes in their intro have actual scenes from the show? Like, not a lot. Dragon Ball Z has Goku and Gohan flying on a dragon's back. That doesn't happen in the series. Like, intros are there to kind of get you hyped up and get you into the series, but it doesn't mean that the scenes are going to play out exactly like that. I said the third eye's in the intro, and it is, and that is the same one that Gomah has. So it's right there. I mean, it's right there in the intro. Okay, we got a couple more super chats here. Hold on a minute. Okay, the first one is from Chambiz. He says, I missed this if you said this already, but the question about a tail, did you say someone get the new transformation? Sorry if I missed it.
Jeez, man.
They're really trying, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
We're not going to go into leaks. All right. And there's why. I don't mind. I could sit here and I could tell you what the final battle is and what everything looks like. I could describe it to you. I could even pull up documentation to prove it. I'm just not going to do that because some people do not want leaks, and if I were to do a spoiler stream, I would put that in the title of the stream. I would have said Dragon Ball Daima leak stream. This stream is safer so that we can discuss things and speculate without there being any leaks. I can hint at some stuff, but I'm not going to give you everything, because if I give you something, somebody else might complain about it. And I'm trying my best to make everybody happy. And it's very difficult as a YouTuber to make everybody happy, because people can be dicks and they don't acknowledge people make mistakes. And if I sit here and I tell you something, right, like, you know, and it's a leak, somebody else might get mad, you know. So
that's part of the reason that, like, you know, me and you are friends. I could ask you at any point for information or leaks. There's some things that I don't want to know. Like, there's some things that I want to experience firsthand. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And
I agree.
There's all kinds of people like that. So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from.
This guy, I like this right here. Who's y'all's plug? With the information y'all got is everywhere like freeze. I do have spots everywhere, but I'm not going to give away who my sources are, bro. Like, I'm never doing that. I will never, ever, ever, ever give away who I speak to. You will never know. But I will tell you that one of the guys that I talk to works on Dragon Ball Daima, and another guy I talked to knows someone that worked on Dragon Ball Daima, and another person that I talked to works on Dragon Ball Daima, but not in Japan. So I do have people everywhere, bro. And I can tell you that, but I'm not going to tell you who they are, and you won't find them because we communicate. We don't communicate on Twitter or Discord. We have other methods of communication to hide the truth. So that's a little peek behind the curtain. Maybe when I retire, I'll tell you more. Miguel Ortiz Jr. said, if Goku and Vegeta fuse, do you think they'll go Super Saiyan 3? Well, Vegito could do. Here's the thing you gotta understand. Vegito could have done Super Saiyan 3 and Z, because we saw Gotenks do Super Saiyan 3, and neither Goten nor Trunks have Super Saiyan 3. So when you're in a fusion, you can access higher forms. So yes, Vegito could do Super Saiyan 3. Do I think we're going to see it? That would depend on whether or not Vegito is the fusion, because the fusion bugs. I think some people might be disappointed that it's not Vegito or Gogeta if it isn't, but I think others are going to be okay with it, because like I said, you're not going to top on Gogeta versus Broly. Like, we're just not going to get that type of, like, I wish.
If we get Shin Goku,
that's different. At least that's different.
I will freak out. Like, you will hear the excitement in my voice when I do a video about it. Like, I will legit freak out.
You know what's funny about this, bro? Did you know that I already revealed what the fusion is in the server, and when I said it, nobody reacted to it. It's in the server. Somewhere in the server from months ago, I said who the fucking what the leak is, but I didn't go into any details or anything. I just kind of said it, and
Yeah.
people probably forgot by now. So, and that's okay. I mean, it's all right. Okay, JD says in Hinduism it could also mean the tildak tilaka. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, red dot. In Buddhism, lots of the I can't pronounce these words, bro.
Botswana. Yeah.
Yeah, have
Bodhisattva.
Bada,
Yeah.
and that would make sense for Goku to get the eye, and it function like the headband sutra. Well, what do you think about that? First of all,
I mean, I've seen a lot of the fan art with the third eye Goku forms. I think they look dope. I think it just looks really cool. But that's all I have to say about that.
right. Okay. Um, First of all, I don't know what DOP is. What is DOP?
I don't know.
Okay, so he gave me 2,500 DOP, and that equals to $40. Okay, thank you for your generosity. Hold on, I lost my window there. Okay, he says, I see where this is going and why DBS is on hiatus. There is more material. Oh, sorry about that. There is more material after Daima for DBS. Now, let's see where Rymus ties up in the story. For now, I see the picture more clearly. Zeno plus Rymus counterpart, let's say God Authority.
Yeah, let's talk about Rymus, because I haven't got to talk about Rymus at all with you. Let's talk about Rymus.
Okay, but
I definitely want to talk about him.
Okay, well, he's Dominican, I just found out. But what I wanted to say was one quick thing about this. If you want, first of all, I agree with what you say. I agree to a degree. All that stuff I covered in the Rymus video. If you go back to my breakdown, Dragon Ball Daima episode, what episode was Rymus? Like 10? I think 10 or 11.
Yeah,
I did a full breakdown of all of that, and I discussed various possibilities. And one of them is that Rymus could be the Supreme Kai to Zeno, and Grand Priest could be his angel. That's a possibility, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. All we know is that Rymus, according to Shin, is still alive somewhere. We don't know if he's in the multiverse, somewhere in the demon realm, or another realm. We don't know. But the fact that he said Rymus is alive, I think a lot of people, including me, think it's going to tie into something later. However, we also thought, where are they going to go plant Sadala? We also thought, did they accidentally wish back the destroyed universes? How many times have they teased something and not delivered it? Frieza himself even said he was going to come back and get revenge in Broly. And I don't think the ending of the Granola arc's what he had in mind. There's a lot of plot threads in Dragon Ball that have been unresolved lately, and I'm not happy about it as a fan. And as a fan, I want them to get this shit resolved, but there's no guarantees. There's no guarantee.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that is implied by Rymus just due to the fact that he's the leader of the Kaioshin, right? Like the fact that
the multiverse.
Yeah, well, the fact that the Kaioshin look up to him and the fact that he has creation magic seems to suggest that Rymus is kind of the reason that the Glen changed. Like,
yeah, maybe he's like the ultimate Glen.
Yeah, well, he doesn't necessarily have to be a Glen for him to teach the Glen to be better people, I guess. But like one thing that I noticed about Rymus is he has a third eye. Like he has like a black dot on his eye. Like he has a third eye. And that's normally a sign of a spiritual leader or somebody who's trying to impart some sort of spiritual knowledge onto the people around
Koresh, bro. David Koresh.
Yeah, and so he is likely the spiritual leader of the Glen. He's likely the reason the Supreme Kai became Supreme Kai and are no longer Glen. He probably like helps teach them magic, and he's a super Majin. He's not, and that's one thing. Like when it comes to like the hierarchy of the gods, I don't agree. I've seen so many people say this. I do not agree that Rimus is above Zeno. I know a lot of people think that. I do not agree with that at
he
all.
might not even be in the same hierarchy. He might be in a different hierarchy, you know?
Well, I think he's the leader of the Glen, but I don't think that he's because the thing is when they introduce Zeno, they call Zeno the Omni King, the supreme Omni King.
The king of everything. It's the king of everything,
the king of all.
Yeah.
All they say about Rimus is that he is a super Majin. That's it. They don't give him any. They say he's the highest authority in the universe, but they do not give him an authoritative title. They literally just say that he is a super Majin. Not only do they just call him a super Majin, which implies that he's like a higher evolved, more powerful version of the Majins as a whole, but he took orders from the Demon King at that time. So to suggest that he is above Zeno is to also suggest that the Demon King is also above Zeno, and that makes absolutely zero sense to me. I don't think that's the case.
You might be right, but
he worked for the Supreme Demon King. They had their own hierarchy back then, just like you said. Like at some point, he was a part of a different hierarchy. He was just right below the good Supreme Demon King. And then after that whole thing fell apart and Rimus didn't get along with the Demon Kings anymore because they became evil, he started working for Zeno and the Grand Priest. And that's what I think happened. I think he abandoned the Demon Realm royal family, and he was like, no, I'm going to help develop life in the mortal universe now. I don't, that's what I think happened personally.
Well, he created the multiverse. Right, but that's fair. But the thing that you're talking about, whether he's above or below Zeno, that would lead to the next question: whether if Zeno's above him, which you claim that he is, and he might be, he's the one above all. Then who created Zeno? Because here's why I'm asking this: if Rimus created the multiverse, he created the 12 universes, right? Or maybe even the 16 universes or 18 universes before Zeno got mad and killed them, then where the hell did Zeno come from? Did Rimus pull Zeno from the demon realm, put him in charge? That's what I'm saying. No. There's a lot of this stuff. This is very mysterious.
My theory is that that Zeno and the Grand Priest already existed in a higher dimension, and that higher dimension only exists due to the fact that realm is so old that it went through a similar developmental process that they're trying to put the mortal realm through. Okay, so the way I look at it is...
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Rimus created the God hierarchy in the multiverse?
No.
Okay.
No. I think that Zeno feels so comfortable erasing the universes because he is humbling Rimus by letting this whole hierarchy exist. I don't think that hierarchy has to exist. I think all of this stuff is just a system that Rimus, Zeno, and the Grand Priest put into place to develop the life that's being born in the expansion of the demon realm. I think they all work together to come up with this system to have these gods to help foster life that would be satisfying to Zeno and the higher dimensional beings that exist above the demon realm. I think that like when they expanded the demon realm, that Zeno and the angels were already there, and they're like, well, if you're going to do this, we're going to be involved as well. That's what I think. Because like, yes, you can question like who created Zeno, but that question can still apply to even Rimus or the demon realm as well. Who created Rimus? Who created the demon realm? Like that question can apply to anyone. It doesn't matter.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
But
I think some people assume that Rimus created the demon realm, the gods of destructions. Like they think he put it all together.
Yeah, and that's a safe assumption, I guess. But I don't think that that's necessarily set in stone or like exactly.
Well, that's what I'm saying, bro. There's a lot of mysteries here. You know.
Yeah.
The Rimus. I've said this before. The Rimus revelation, came out of nowhere. Like it came out of nowhere, bro. It came out of nowhere, dude. Like, and so now we're left like, holy shit, like now there's this. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the demon realm existing before the multiverse. I know that in the original continuity and with the original, even the Xenoverse stuff, the demon realm did not exist before the multiverse. It was created by Mecha Kibura and I forget who else, using the Supreme Kai of Time and all that. All that stuff is not even, doesn't matter anymore. Now, and that's just video game stuff. Now they're saying the demon realm predates the multiverse,
Well,
and that
if the demon
shocked
realm,
me.
if the demon realm harbors life that don't have ki, that are inherently evil, more primal, barbaric, and just overall primordial, it would make sense that they predate the mortal realm, because the mortal realm is like the next step, rather than it being like, the mortal realm exists before because some evil entity created it. The demon realm, the mortal realm, and the higher dimension that the angels and Zeno come from are being treated as steps in this like developmental process.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and that makes
Yeah.
sense if they do it that way. It's just still
Yeah.
a thing where it's like, there was a time in the Dragon Ball cosmos where the multiverse did not exist and the demon realm did, which means that every living sentient being that lived during that time was in the demon realm. And that's kind of a trip because we didn't know any of this when Daima first started. None of Toriyama's interviews ever hinted at any of this. This is
No.
like brand new that he wrote into Daima. Like I don't think this is something that he planned in like 1986 when he started writing Dragon Ball, or even during the day of Super. And I'm gonna talk more about this. I can't go into details right now because it would be a leak, but you're gonna find out in 2 weeks exactly why Daima exists, and you're gonna find out Akio's role, and I mean not why it exists, but more of why it exists. You're gonna find out Akio's role in this and Toriyama's role as far as letting his imagination run wild, because it certainly did.
Yeah.
You know?
I do think that there are implications that have always been there. Like, for example, we've been doing the Mongolian lately. I've been talking about how like the Namekians have this process to like make pure-hearted Namekians. That's something we've been talking about in the Mongolian. We've seen that play out in Dragon Ball Daima. The Namekians still have that going on in the Demon Realm. But what I find particularly interesting about that, and this is something that not a lot of people think about, is the Glend have the exact same process. And that process is what makes the Supreme Kais. So,
and they're both from Demon World too.
Yes, exactly. So there's got to be something there. The fact that the Glens and the Namekians both have this process of creating like godlike, pure-hearted beings out of their species, and the fact that there's a good Supreme Demon King, there's the good Supreme Super Majin Rimus, you know what I mean? Like all of that stuff definitely has to connect in some sense. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a lot, and the thing about Toriyama is, number one, he's not with us anymore, so we don't know what else he thought was in it, what was in his head. And secondly, it does feel, and I've said this before, and if you study Akira Toriyama, the man, this will make sense to you. Toriyama oftentimes lets his imagination run wild, and I think he just comes up with shit without really thinking it through. He does this a lot. Like, I think he likes to come up with cool shit and not like actually think. Like, I don't think he's the kind of guy who comes up with an idea and then goes, I wonder if the fans will like it, or I wonder if this will contradict.
Care about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wonder if this will contradict what we saw in the back. I wonder this, I wonder that. Like,
well, he particularly has no consideration for Toei's lore, and we've seen that.
Well, he's commented on that.
Yeah, we've seen that time and time and time again, and that's caused a lot of confusion in the fandom because a lot of people take Toei's lore as like gospel. They take it seriously as like a part of the actual lore, and that's the reason that there's like these endless debates about like what, how some people perceive, even more so than the dub in some sense. Filler and Toei's lore changes people's perception of what Dragon Ball actually is.
I agree.
To the point that when Toriyama decides to do something on his own, because he's not considering Toei's lore at all, he doesn't care about it. It's not a part of his story. it's very, very jarring because it's like, oh, it comes off as like he's being inconsiderate of all this information that we've been given prior, when really the reality is he just doesn't even factor it in because it's not
Right.
lore. And
Right.
he doesn't even,
But
you know what I mean?
sometimes he will retcon his own shit.
Oh, I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying that like sometimes, and not all the time, because he does retcon his own stuff. You're right about that. But sometimes it's more so people just recognizing Toei's lore and thinking that it's true to the series when it's not. But in terms of retroactively changing his own stuff, sometimes it doesn't work out very well. But most times it's decently consistent to the point that you can at least take it seriously. You know, like there are some retcons and things that happen in different series that just completely destroy the immersion of the series. It doesn't make the series feel like an actual universe anymore because it's been contradicted in such a sense that like you can't take it seriously anymore. Dragon Ball's never went that far. Like they've never went so far that it's like I can't take this seriously anymore because they just completely, destroyed the foundation of the series. So there's at least that,
Yeah, and here's the thing, as somebody like me who studies Toriyama, and my job, I feel one of my duties here on YouTube is to explain things to people to make things more clear to them. It's not just to make Dragon Ball fans more hardcore, but even me, whose job it is to organize all the lore, even people like me struggle sometimes because there's been so many interviews throughout so many years and so many things that are said. It's very difficult. Like there's a reason as to why I've made the canon video 5 different times, why I recorded it 5 different times. Not just because new shit keeps coming out that changes it, but because in order to properly explain canon, it's a very, very granular thing. Because people, especially in the West, Americans literally have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to canon. I'm not saying that as somebody who is I'm not being an elitist. I'm not being a dick. They don't have a clue. They don't understand the mentality of Toei / Shueisha / Toriyama when it comes to Dragon Ball. But also, they are misinformed, and that's not their fault. I am not blaming a fan for that. I think most Dragon Ball fans just watch Dragon Ball and Z, and they heard that GT's not canon, so they skip it. They'll go to Super sometimes, and they'll just think that's the canon. Oh, well, the anime is the canon, when in reality, the anime takes so many liberties with the story that aren't in the manga that it can't even be the canon. But I'll oftentimes have guys, they'll say shit like, oh, Dragon Ball Z is canon. But here's the thing, Jordan, if I say Dragon Ball Z is not canon, people are going to think I'm nuts. So for me to explain everything, it's way more nuanced. I have to go all the way back to 84 when the manga started and 86 when the anime started and explain the process. Then people might get it. But it's a very difficult thing to do. That's why I had to re-record the video,
Yeah, and they don't even, the thing is like when it comes to Toei and like how they contradict their own, like especially Toei, and how they work with Toriyama and how the lore gets contradicted all the time. We were just talking about the other day about how there's that filler episode where Gohan and Piccolo are hanging out, and then like, and it contradicts what happens later on in the Saiyan saga because Piccolo learns that they have some interactions that essentially make it to where the stuff that happens in the Saiyan saga doesn't make any sense at all. Like we were just talking about that not long ago. So there's not even that much space between the contradictions. Like you don't have to like put a lot of effort into seeing like how Toei just writes whatever. Very similar to what you were saying about Toriyama. Toei does that. They just write something because they're trying to make something entertaining to fill in the gap of time. Because
that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and they don't think about how the implications of how that's going to affect even an episode like a month later. They don't think about it that way. Like they just don't. And I think most of the inconsistencies in Dragon Ball come from that. Not that Toriyama doesn't create inconsistencies, that he does. But I think most of them come from Toei just willy-nilly adding stuff without thinking about it, and and not having any major implications to the series, so they don't take it super seriously.
Not to mention that sometimes, and the other problem is that people in the West, and unfortunately, I'm only one man. I cannot fix this fandom. It's broken intellectually, critically. It's broken. It's a broken fandom. It'll never be fixed. People are using the idea of canon, which is based on religion, applying it to a franchise that has multiple parts of multimedia, anime, manga, etc. So that you're applying a Western American / British ideology to an Eastern franchise. It doesn't work that way, bro. And that's one of the things that I find myself getting into clashes with Dragon Ball Z Toonami fans, is they oftentimes forget that this is a Japanese show. Therefore, it's targeted to the Japanese more so than it is to us. You have to remember things like that when you're talking about the series. The tingly back thing, people said it didn't make sense. I'm not a huge fan of it, but guess what? It does make sense if you're Japanese and you understand where the tingly back came from. I did a whole video on it. I did an entire video explaining it.
Herms pointed out that was, he's pointed out that was specifically something Toriyama put in the series for a very specific reason. Yeah,
and just because you're ignorant. And here's the thing, just because you're culturally ignorant, meaning you don't know Japanese culture, does not mean that you're right and they're wrong. One of the things that it's like a flat earther. Like a flat earther will oftentimes, and I know one, I used to know one, will oftentimes, they will oftentimes give you all of these like theories about the earth being flat, right? And then they when they do that, right, when you actually like look into it, it's impossible. It cannot be flat. But then when you give them the explanation, because they're so caught up in their own world, they don't accept it. You know what I mean? Like so when so you just have to remember that it's not targeted for us. But guess what? That goes for almost everything out of Japan. But yet we eat it up because it's entertaining, like you said. All right, we got a few more of these, man. Jacob Johnson says, if I were to write Super Saiyan 4 and Super, I would make it a Demon Realm form and or form for Broly that symbolizes Broly conquering the Uzaru within and using that power for good. I'm not against your idea. The problem is that there's fans that think Broly already did that, and he didn't. The Broly's Ikari is not Super Saiyan 4 at all. You were saying?
Well, Ikari means rage.
Rage.
It literally translates to rage. So they don't have to use Super Saiyan 4 to have Broly do that. Broly can literally just implement that in his Super Saiyan form. Like literally his regular Super Saiyan form. It doesn't have to be Super Saiyan 4. It can literally just be Ikari, the power of the Great Ape in his regular. So he can have the yellow eyes and Super Saiyan. Like it doesn't have to be like this Great Ape thing, which honestly wouldn't make any sense because like you pointed out, that's not the same thing. It's a mutation that happens as a result of the Golden Great Ape and all of these things, right? I don't see having that. You will never convince me that Super will have that, like the Golden Great Ape version of this. Like,
and that's too bad. That's one of my favorite forms of all time.
But like, you know, I think it's way more likely that they will just have Broly control his rage, because here's something that a lot of people don't understand about Super Saiyan and the Great Ape form. The rage that triggers Super Saiyan also brings out the Saiyan's inner nature. The Saiyan's inner nature, their wrathful nature, is also associated with the Great Ape form. So there is a connection between Super Saiyan and Great Ape. There is an actual connection there. So, you know, and a lot of people get that mixed up. Like even Super Saiyan 4 itself was just a regurgitation. It was a redo of the original concept that Toriyama did with Super Saiyan on Namek. When Goku controlled himself through Super Saiyan on Namek, they just redid that through Goku controlling the Golden Great Ape, right? It's the same thing. It's just modified slightly. It's just slightly different.
They borrowed from like 2 or 3 other things, and they combined them.
Right. So
which GT did that a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, I'm not gonna pick on you, but you said, isn't Ikari like Potential Unleashed? No, they're actually not even remotely similar, bro. I do not know where you got that from, my friend, but they're not even remotely similar. All right, Xavier says, what do you guys think is more likely to happen if Super continues? Goku and Vegeta beat Beerus solo or as a tag team or as a fusion? Brother, Goku and Vegeta do not want to beat Beerus as a tag team or as a fusion. First of all, it's been established that Vegeta hates fusing. If you've only seen Fusion Reborn dubbed, which fucks it up, you wouldn't know that. But if you watch it in Japanese, which I think you did actually, but I'm saying when I say you, I mean people, not you specifically. In the dub of Fusion Reborn, they make it seem like Vegeta liked fusing. Vegeta hates fusing with Goku. That's number one. Number two, Vegeta and Goku, what they did during the fight with Majin Buu is they wanted to test themselves. Whether you call this stupid or not, Vegeta and Goku have way too much martial arts pride to beat Beerus fused. Could a Ultra Gogeta or Ultra Vegeta beat Beerus? Yeah, but that's not what they want. They want to beat him fair and square with their own power. You know what I'm
Their
saying?
own techniques. Actually, they're actually focusing more on them perfecting their techniques than anything else at this point. So,
yeah, it's not about fusing. And plus, excuse me, the only time that fusion is necessary is if there's some kind of cataclysmic problem that can't be resolved through a regular fight. Beerus is not going to blow up the universe. He's not going to kill Goku's friends. He's not going to kill Goku. There's no point in them fusing to fight Beerus, bro. None. Zero. Like, fusion is like, think about why they fused against Broly. Broly was rampaging over everybody. They had no other choice to beat him because he was going nuts. And he would have eventually... Yeah, he would have eventually killed everybody.
Literally like, hey, do you want Bulma and Trunks to die, bro? Like, that's literally what he said. Like,
right, and that's right. That's why they did it. And then Broly calmed the fuck down. Diego says, what would they do on Planet Sadala arc? I've talked about this I don't know how many times. They could do a gazillion things. They could have a tournament on Planet Sadala with the Saiyans. They could have Vegeta meet that king. They could have a storyline with Frost. They could have a storyline with another Super Saiyan that hasn't been revealed yet. They can reveal more backstory on the Saiyans. There's a million and one things they can do on Planet Sadala, and it's the arc we've been talking about since 2018, and we haven't got it yet. And we might never get it at this point. JD, as for Rimus and the whole cosmology, my current theory is that Toriyama may be borrowed from the Pure Land concept of Mahayana Buddhism, its transcendent realms of the Buddhas. Well, I think some of that was in GT also.
Yeah, I think they're just playing on higher and lower dimensions. That's a better way to summarize it. I think that the higher and lower dimensions are a result of developing
like the demon realm.
Yeah, I think they're just continuing that. You know, the mortal realm is just an expansion of the demon realm that eventually became the middle ground between the demon realm and where Zeno and the angels reside. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, if you really think about the demon realm, you know, you have three different areas. You've got the pink area, which has the floating islands and the bad smell and the volcanoes with that pit. You've got the green area and you've got the red area where it's got fire everywhere and it rains. Demon World 1, 2, and 3. Clearly, the best place to live is Demon World 2 because, yes, you've got to deal with giants and you've got to deal with krakens, but you have lush vegetation there. You have trees. You just look at Demon World 2 and it looks comfortable. It looks like a place that you'd want to live.
Yeah, it reminds me of the mortal realm. It reminds me
that's
of the
what I'm saying. I would not want to live in Demon World 1 or 3. I want to live in 2 because it looks the most comfortable. And of course, that's a metaphor because the Glins and the Namekians are like that. So, yeah. Jacob says, I love SS4, but I agree with you. Well, I'm glad that you like Super Saiyan 4, bro. That is one of the most popular forms in the series. A lot of people want it back. A lot of people think it is going to come back in Daima or later on in Super. We'll see. I mean, trust me. All I'm going to say is this. The Japanese know that Super Saiyan 4 is popular because they keep putting it into video games. Like they know that it's popular, so they're not going to just dump it. So before we get out of here, okay, Jordan, because we already hit, I know you have to leave because you have to run errands, but before you go, is there anything about the third eye that you want to go into that we didn't talk about? Also, I want everybody to know Jordan and I will be doing a Sayuki on this topic. However, we're not going to record it yet because I'm waiting for episode 18, 19, and 20 to drop so that we have a full picture, because we're going to break down the final battle and why Toriyama is borrowing from a big battle in Journey to the West. This is going to be a thing where if people like JD, which is a huge minority in this fandom, like not a lot of people, were to actually study Journey to the West, they would understand how much Toriyama's borrowing from that in this thing. So what do you think?
So as far as the third eye thing, the only thing I'd like to talk about is the fact that the third eye is very similar to the Dragon Balls in the sense that it's the thing that Gomah's wanted the entire series, and he's finally got his hands on it, and he's going to kind of like use it to like basically do what he wants to accomplish with like. I think that that's a cool parallel between Goku and Gomah that people are kind of looking over, is the fact that Goku's trying to get the Dragon Balls and Gomah's trying to get the third eye. I think that's cool. I just think that's an overall cool concept that people are kind of overlooking. But a lot of my thoughts on the third eye, I do want to say for our Sayuki video. But as far as like the whole borrowing from Journey to the West thing, that is something I would like to talk about for just a minute.
Yes, please do. Wait, let me answer this quick question. No, next week's Super Magic Show will not be on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm either going to do it Monday or take a week off. I'm not going to compete against Super Bowl, bro. So that ain't happening. Also, no Mongolian this week because I'm taking a week off to go to the doctor. But Mongolian with Jordan will be back next week as we begin the Cell Saga. So join us for that Tuesdays. What were you going to say, brother?
Well, I was just going to say that something a lot of people don't know about Journey to the West is that the underlining theme of it is mortal development. It's like spiritual development. Like Sun Wukong as a character, the entire point of the process that he goes through is to become. He's going through a process of mortal development, which is why mortal development is like a process in Dragon Ball. And something that I think people don't really appreciate because they don't have the context is the fact that Goku as a character, see, what made Sun Wukong dangerous as a character in Journey to the West is chi. It's chi. It's the energy that like the gods and everybody else has that makes them gods. That's what made Sun Wukong dangerous. That's the reason he could break into heaven and almost dethrone the gods and all that stuff, is because he learned through his master how to tap into chi. And that made him godlike. And that's the reason he terrorized heaven. So I think it's really cool that Goku, due to the Supreme Kais and the way that the mortals are developed underneath the Supreme Kais, has a lot of chi, which makes him very, very powerful. And instead of invading heaven and trying to take over everything and doing something evil like Sun Wukong, he's trying to save the demon realm. I think that's a really cool parallel. I think it's something that people don't really appreciate much about Daima when it comes. I mean, when I first saw Goku with the Nyoibo turning Super Saiyan when he was fighting Tamagami 3, that gave me the strongest Sun Wukong vibes that I've gotten from Dragon Ball in years. And I mean years. Like, not that I haven't like gotten, of course I talk about this stuff all the time. So I've gotten like, you know, hints and references before. But when Goku bursts out of the rock and he's holding the Nyoibo and he's like floating there as a Super Saiyan and he's defeating Tamagami 3. Like, to me, that's like, it has a huge impact that people kind of miss out on by not having the correct context. The fact that Goku is like this super developed being who is only powerful enough to take down Tamagami 3 because he has chi, and chi is a side effect of the spiritual cultivation that is taught in Journey to the West as well as what's being implemented in Dragon Ball, I think gives Daima like more narrative weight, and it just makes the whole thing like more interesting and creative and enjoyable. The fact that Goku is not only becoming a legend in the demon realm, but that he's essentially a god in the demon. Like they essentially treat him like a god. Like he's running around like just destroying it. Like, you know, Pansy is mind blown by how powerful he is due to the fact that he has chi and all this stuff. So I think that it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about how Goku is going to have an impact on the demon realm. I think that the secret thing that's happening behind the scenes here is that Goku is subjecting the demon realm to the same developmental processes that put the realm that Zeno is from and the mortal realm above the demon realm. So essentially, I think that the entire point of Goku coming into contact with the demon realm is that through influencing the demon realm, he's going to raise it to a higher dimensional level. And I think that that's kind of I think that's the actual purpose of Goku being introduced to the demon realm, is that he's going to push the demon realm to new heights and make it more similar to the mortal realm. And I think that's actually what's going on here. We're just not seeing that because they're not like focusing on it very much or like pointing it out in like a very blatant way. But I think that's very similar to the TOP. Like I said, I think that that's what's happening here. Goku is like developing the mortals of the demon realm in his own unique way and kind of changing the entire realm into something different. You know, if Pansy's dad becomes the Demon King, that will be definitive of the fact that it's a new era for the demon realm. They're not going to be the same realm that they were before, right? They're going to be something more similar to what they were when they had a good Demon King. And I think that that's kind of the point of the show, is that Goku, using these godly abilities that come from the spiritual and the spiritual development and the evolution that happens in the mortal realm, is coming into the demon realm, becoming a legend, and he's going to have a huge impact on the demon realm as a whole. Like that scene where Tamagami is like practicing the Kamehameha, that seems just like a cheeky little reference, like a cheeky little scene, but I think that that is definitive of the impact that Goku is having on the demon realm currently. So that's all I really wanted to talk about.
Look at this last super chat that just came in. Welcome, brother. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well. Yeah. I hope you are having a good day.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat, brother. It's just funny because you can tell who's actually been here and who hasn't just by the questions they ask. Yeah. So anyways, there will be a lot more talk about this when Jordan and I do our video. We can't do it yet though, because like I said, stuff needs to play out. But like I said, there's an upcoming battle that's very similar to Journey to the West. I want to see how similar though, because I don't know. But you know, we'll see. I mean, it's coming up. We're at the end, and stop asking me about a new form, dude. Like, you'll find out in a couple weeks. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you'll find out. Like, you'll find out what it looks like, bro. Like, they try to get it out of me, and it's like, with respect, I don't want to say anything more than that. Just the fact that I said that there's a new form coming is already kind of giving something away.
Right, exactly.
And
just be hyped for it, guys. You'll be way more hyped when you see it.
He's right about this. All they care about is new forms. Yeah, dude, like, you know, sorry, I've been working 15 hours. I can relate. I worked like 13 on Friday, so it's all right. You don't have to apologize. I'm not mad at you. I recommend when you have time, you go back and listen to the stream. Right. So, anyways, we're out of here. I don't think they're going to leak it in the video games, but we're out of here. Have a good one, y'all. Take care. See you guys real soon.
Thanks for having me, Danny. Good talking to all of you guys. Thank you guys so much for participating. Appreciate you guys so much. Go check out my channel, Jordan the Dragon Lee. I hope you guys have a great night.
Also, like I said before, I don't know about the Super Magic Show next week. I'm not going to compete with Super Bowl, so either it'll be on super early or on Monday, or not a show at all. So it'll either be Monday, early on Sunday, or not at all. But I'm not going to compete with Super Bowl, so I'm going to watch Super Bowl. So don't worry about that. I'm out, y'all. Jordan's out. Have a good one. See you soon.